You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 108. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. I love nothing more than when you get to talk one-on-one with someone and instantly connect with them. My guest today is on a mission to change the lives of women to help them lead their lives with purpose and on purpose. Tanya Dalton is a best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, mom of two, wife, and nationally recognized productivity expert. Named one of the top 10 business books by Fortune magazine, The Joy of Missing Out was a bestseller, and today her new book, On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success, launches into the world. She's been featured on NBC, Fox, Entrepreneur.com, Forbes, Inc., Real Simple, and a whole bunch of other places. Tanya is also the founder and CEO of Inkwell Press Productivity Company, a multi-million-dollar company providing tools that work as a catalyst in helping women do less while achieving maximum success. She's serving as a growth strategist for female leaders. And I am one of the lucky humans who was able to read On Purpose before its launch today. And in all honesty, I loved it. I loved it because I am all about creating impact, finding purpose, and being intentional, which are all things that Tanya is also about. Today, we're talking about what you choose to do, how you choose to spend your time, what you choose your future to look like, what's the impact you choose to create. Tanya takes us from dreaming and planning big and shows us how to break it down into goals that we can actually achieve. Because friends, all of this is truly up to us. We not only get to decide, but have the power to decide what our future looks like. I loved this conversation with Tanya, and in fact, we were chatting away for almost 20 minutes before we decided that we should probably start the interview. Tanya's a joy and a wealth of productive knowledge. So join us with your coffee, wine, or water, and let's start making decisions to live our lives on purpose. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, we already have. We've been having fun for 16 minutes now, and we haven't even hit record. So
that's a good sign.
I know this is going to be amazing. Can you take a moment and introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yeah. So my name is Tanya Dalton. I like to say that I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm an author, I'm a productivity expert, not necessarily in that order, but I do lots of different roles in my life. And I started out my career thinking I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And that shifted and grew. I talk about that in my newest book. That shifted and grew into me becoming a business owner. I've owned my own business since 2008, which I grew so then my husband could come and work alongside of me. And then closed that business to really pursue what I'm passionate about, to really do something that would fire me up and ignite my soul. And so I opened up Inkwell Press Productivity Co. in 2013. And scaled that to 7 figures in less than 18 months. Then I started doing my own podcast, really stretching into the service side of what I really wanted to do, a lot of education with courses and programs and things like that. And then I was approached by publishing houses to write my book. So I wrote The Joy of Missing Out with HarperCollins, and that came out in October of 2019. It was named one of the top 10 business books of the year, which was crazy, insane. And so now I have my newest book, On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success, which has just come out today, which is crazy and
Yay!
exciting. Yes, that's a whole different thing to talk about. Lots of work that goes into writing a book, but so just amazing and incredible. And it's so exciting to be here on the show with you today.
You're just an overall badass.
Thank you.
I love it.
I'll tell my kids you said that so that they will believe it. So
you can play this for them over and over and over again.
I can try. I'm not sure they'll really buy into it, but I can try. I've got a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old. So the 18-year-old is now seeing that I am cool. 14-year-old, not so much. So
I get it. Mine are 6 and 5, and sometimes I'm cool and sometimes I'm just not.
Yes, sometimes just not. And that's kind of how motherhood is, right?
It is. Yeah, no matter what the age. So.
It's true. Although I will tell you, I just dropped my son at college this year. So he's my oldest. It was a big year preparing everything. That's something that I think you think about the moment they're born. Then you hit those milestones of like going to preschool, going to kindergarten, and it's so far away that one day they're going to go to college. And here we are with him off at college. And there was this moment when I dropped him off at his school and we're in front of his dorm and we're hugging and I'm doing my best to like keep it all in and to rein in the crying. And my daughter and I had said like, we will hold it in and then we'll get in the car and we will cry the whole rest of the way home. And John was like, me too. I'm like, okay. But we're outside of his dorm and I'm hugging him and we're saying our goodbyes and he walks off into the dorm and he doesn't look back. And I have to tell you, I was so insanely proud at that moment. Like it was the moment that everything was for, where it was like all those times in the trenches, all those moments where you're covered in boogers and vomit and God knows what, and everything where you're like, why am I doing this? Or can I go to the bathroom by myself? Or can any of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, we did it. And look how confidently he just walked into adulthood. Like he didn't even look back. Like that is amazing. So it is. It's all worth it. It really is.
I think I would have been crushed. But he didn't look back to say goodbye.
He hugged me an awful lot and he texted an awful lot. So we're really close. To me, honestly, like I like to say he's my nervous Nelly. Like when he was 15 would be like, what if I don't know where I want to go to school? What if I don't know what I want to major in? And I've always been like, you're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. So for him to step so confidently into it, it was like this huge moment for us that he just felt ready. And I think that's what was exciting. Like, yes, slightly crushing that he didn't look back, but he had hugged me and got a little teary during the hugging. And I think he didn't want to look back or else he might break down. So yes, it was kind of one of those moments where you're like, this is what it's for. This is why we do what we do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you talk in the book also, I mean, let's dive into the book because you talk about him filling out his college applications.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
and that's a process. When you wrote about that, I'm like, oh gosh, I remember when I did mine.
And it's so different. And I have to be honest, as a parent, it feels so daunting and overwhelming. And you're just like, I don't even know how to navigate this. It's a whole new world that gets overblown in so many ways that it stresses you out, and it doesn't need to be so stressful. It's actually a lot easier than when we applied for college. Where I had to fill out different applications for everyone because there's a common application. And in the book, we talk about this whole idea of, for me, it was super stressful, where it was like, okay, where are you going to go? He has no idea where he wants to go to school. How are we going to figure out where you're going to go? And there are all these conversations that are happening that could completely stress us out. And they were stressing me out. They were stressing out my husband, John. They were stressing out Jack. We were just like a stress fest, right? But we made the decision to silo the stress. And that was a choice. Like, what if we didn't stress about this? What would that look like if we chose to be more intentional with this and chose not to stress about it? So we did this thing that I call siloing the stress that I talk about in the book, where we made the decision that we were only going to talk about college planning on Thursday nights. So after dinner, we would have college planning night. The rest of the week, the whole topic of college planning was off limits. I wasn't allowed to ask about it, wasn't allowed to talk about it. If it would pop into my head, as it would tend to do, like, oh gosh, has he done this? I would write it down like in my planner, or I'd put it on a Post-it note and I would save it for Thursday. Because what was nice was, instead of stressing about it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I only worried about it on Thursdays. And any other time, it was like, okay, we're going to cover that on Thursday. It's going to get taken care of. And it was amazing how just that lightened up the stressful feeling in the house. It lightened the load for everybody. but it also gave Jack so much autonomy. It allowed him to really step into the whole college application process and lead that himself. So we would meet on Thursdays and we'd be like, all right, what's the game plan for this week? Like we first started off with, let's research 3 colleges every week. So we would assign him the colleges. Then on the next Thursday, we'd say, what did you learn? What do you think? Does this make it on the list? We'd kind of give him a rating. And then we'd say, okay, what's the next 3? And that was it. And it was so easy because he had ownership. And I think that's the thing, like that whole moment with him walking into the dorm. When we have our kids, it's really, this is the heart of the whole book, right? Like it's really looking at that bigger thing of what we're wanting as parents for our children. We want them to soar. We don't want them to fly our nest and fall to the ground. We want them to soar and have ownership and be good, productive adults with morals and values and all those things and understanding who they are. And that's what this allowed us to do while it took away the stress from our plate, which I think was really incredible.
I love that. And it's something that can be, transferred over, not just to college applications for your kids, but to anything in your life.
Anything. Yes.
It's brilliant. The whole book is brilliant. I really love it.
That. Let's say that again one more time for the people in
the
the
back.
book
is brilliant, everybody. On Purpose, out today. Go buy it. Download it. Read it.
I love it. It's, like we talked about before, it's one of those things. It's a labor of love writing a book. So when people resonate with it, when they feel like, oh my gosh, there's actionable advice in here and I feel excited about it, that makes it all 100% worthwhile for me. So that's amazing to hear.
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm like, okay, what next? Because there's 2 main things that I really want to talk about in the book. And one of them is just, it's the word choose. You get to choose everything.
Yeah.
And I think that so often we forget that our lives are full of choices that we are in control of and we get to make versus, this is life. This is how it is. No, you get up every morning, you choose to get out of bed, you choose, what it is that you're going to do that day. You get to choose what your future is, choose the impact you want to make. And that's what it's all about. And I love that you have this cathedral that we choose the cathedral that we want to build and then the steps to get to it.
I think
and I loved it. It resonated with me.
Thank you. Thank you. And it is, the heart of the book is about choices. Every chapter is a choice, choosing to disrupt your patterns, choosing your identity, choosing to create the time, choosing to release your fears. It is a series of choices. And I'm a productivity expert, but I get people in the door with productivity. They get fired up and excited. Ooh, I want to be productive. They come in the door and I'm like, listen, it's really about intentional living. That's what being productive really is about. I like to say that productivity isn't about doing more. It's doing what is most important, which means we prioritize the things that matter most to us. And that's when our life has meaning. That's when our life does feel successful. But that takes choosing. You have to choose what you want your life to look like. And in the book, we get into this idea of what is your cathedral. So I'd love to talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah. Yes. Let's do it.
Because, we have this concept that I talk about in the book called cathedral thinking. And it's based off the whole idea that, back in the way back whens, like the 1100s, the 1200s, the city planners, the architects, the builders, these artisans, they would build these amazing, beautiful cathedrals. Cathedrals like the Duomo in Florence or Notre Dame, these beautiful buildings that have survived thousands of years. But those cathedrals were not built in a single lifetime. They were built, some of them took like 500-600 years to build. So it's having something that you're wanting to create that's bigger than today. Doesn't have to be 500 years in the future, but just looking far off into your future and seeing, where is it I want to go? So that's your cathedral. Like, what do you want life to look like? What do you want it to look like, for yourself? Defining what that ideal vision 20 years down the road or 10 years down the road, what does that look like? So we talk about, and I kind of map it out. I draw it as a wayfinding map. So a wayfinding map is really how the Pacific Islanders used to navigate across the ocean without any GPS. They didn't have iPhones, back in the day. They didn't have any of those things, but they would use these landmarks. So that's how we can create a life that feels meaningful, is figuring out what we want our cathedral to be. What is my potential? Like if I look down the road, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what is the potential of what life could look like for me? Okay, well, if that's the potential, that beautiful cathedral, let's back it up. Let's look 3 to 5 years in the future. What's possible? What would be possible for me to do that would get me closer to that cathedral? So then we back it up again. So we did what's potential, and then what's possible, and then, okay, if that's what's possible in 3 to 5 years, what's practical? What's practical that I could actually accomplish in like 12 to 18 months? Okay, if that's what's practical, let's back it up even more. What do I need to prioritize in the next 3, 6, 9 months to get me to that first landmark, that practical landmark, that then I can move on to that possible landmark to then move into my cathedral? Those priorities, those things that we just talked about that we want to prioritize, those are our goals. Those are the things that we want to do for ourselves to get us to that big, beautiful cathedral. And I think, for a lot of people, when it comes to setting goals, they don't know what goals to set, or they look around and they go, well, she's doing this and she looks pretty awesome, so I'm going to do this. Or I see this person look successful, so I'm going to do what they're doing. And we set our goals based off of what everybody else is doing. And this is about setting a life that's on purpose, a life that's really set so that you are living the life that you want. And that's what you want your goals to do. You want them to get you on that path to each of those landmarks, that potential, that cathedral that's far off into the future. And that's how we uncover and figure out, what do I want for my goals? Not what should I be setting my goals, or what should I be doing, or what is everybody else doing, or what am I supposed to be doing, but what really gets me started on that path to where I want my life to go.
It's so intentional. And I love how you break it down, because you do make it simple and working backwards. And I think we're always working, kind of forwards, if that makes sense. In the reverse of, I don't know how to do today in order to get down, 5 years from now, what I want to do, versus, okay, what can I do today that'll get me to tomorrow, that'll get me to next month, and breaking it down that way. And really living, as you say, on purpose and with intention. And I know that for me, I've had you in the back of my head because I've read the book, it's been a little while. And by the time this comes out, it'll have been, 2 months or so. Yeah, a little while longer. And so for me, like I would do my to-do list. I would just throw one big to-do list for the week. And it worked, but it didn't prioritize what is it I need to get done each day.
Yes.
So I've changed things to a daily list, and I break it down. What is it that has to get done today? And I've included on it workout. Because, if I want to lose 50 pounds a year from now, I need to work out today.
Yes.
And it needs to be prioritized, and I need to wake up and do it on purpose. And it needs to go on the list today. Not, I'd like to work out 3 times this week. You need to get really focused and detailed on it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the thing is we're so busy chasing busy. We're checking things off our to-do list, and our to-do list takes us everywhere but where we want to go. In my first book, The Joy of Missing Out, we talked about throwing out the to-do list and making a priority list, kind of like what you're talking about here, where you're really prioritizing what do I want to do today to get me on track. But I think what happens is we do 1,000 things. We're checking 1,000 things off that to-do list. We're running here, we're running there, we're running everywhere. And then we fall into bed at night and we're exhausted and we are frustrated. We think, I'm the worst. Why didn't I get more done? Why didn't I do more? Even though we were busy all day long. And that's because we're doing 1,000 things that aren't really moving us forward. It's like, you can take 50 steps in 50 different directions, but where are you going to end up? You might end up in the same spot. You might end up further behind. But if instead you chose to make 5 steps, just 5, not 50, but 5 steps intentionally moving in that same forward direction, where are you going to end up? Closer to where you want to go. So it's not about checking a million things off our to-do list. It's really doing the things that matter most to us. When we do work today that's tied to a greater tomorrow, that's tied to our cathedral. And like for you, I love how you say that, like, I want to lose 50 pounds. I got to work out today. It's tied to something bigger, a bigger idea, a bigger dream that you have, an aspiration. That's when we go to bed at night and go, today felt amazing. I am amazing. And I think the question for your listeners really is, When is the last time you went to bed and your head hit the pillow and you thought, wow, today was amazing. I did great today. Because if it's been more than 2 days, that is too long. Let's
I
end
like
our
that.
days feeling really fulfilled, feeling satisfied, feeling successful with the work that we're creating and putting forth into the world. And we do that when we're doing things that are tied to something bigger, that have bigger meaning than just checking them off the list. That's what I really want for women. I want women to go to bed at night and remember that they are incredible.
I love in the book, because this one really hit home with me, how you're working at your kitchen table and you've got the kids going around, and then your daughter Kate comes up and says, can you go play soccer with me or something?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you have that choice to make, but then you also compare it to, well, if she came running in with a bloody nose, would you say, no, maybe in a little bit? No, you drop everything and go help her.
Right. Yes.
And the difference is because this was my life for over 6 years of, I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to work. Mom, can we have a snack? Mom, can we go outside? Mom.
Yep. I'm
And it's
familiar with
only
that.
been a month where I don't have that, where I'm recording in the closet right now and didn't have to close 15 doors to get here.
Glorious. Glorious.
Yes.
I understand that. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that prioritizing of it.
It is. It's prioritizing. I think this is a thing is we like to blame time. I don't have the time to do what I want, while at the very same time saying, oh, I have so much time. I'll do that someday, right? There's this amazing push and pull when it comes to time. Like we have someday, which is often the future, where apparently we have this giant vault of time waiting for us. And then we have today where there's not enough time at all. But scarcity and abundance do not apply to time. Time is simply time. 60 minutes at the beach is the same as 60 minutes before a presentation. And so it really is how we want to spend our time, how we're prioritizing. That's why that chapter is called Choose to Create the Time. The time will not just show up. I can't just go, hey, you know what? I've got an extra hour here. No problem. Let me just give it to you. That doesn't work, right? So it is how we prioritize. And in the book, we tell the story about, if your kid comes to you and wants to play soccer and you'll say, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do that right now. Same kid, same situation. You're at the same table and the kid comes in with a bloody nose. You don't say, oh, I don't have the time for that. Sorry, can't deal with that right now. You're like, oh my gosh, get up right away and take care of the bloody nose. So time was exactly the same. It's just that was a bigger priority because you had a kid with a bloody nose. So we have to stop blaming time and being time victims and choose instead to realize that we can have ownership over our time. We can choose how we spend our time with how we manage our activities by the things that we prioritize. So, I love what you said there about, it's hard getting work done when you have kids at your feet. And I know I started my first business with 2 kids playing at my feet. And that was difficult. I ran my business on days when Mother's Day out was in. So that, it happened like on Tuesday, Thursdays, and then eventually Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And I remember when they went off to school and it was being like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I have all this time. It's funny how now I don't feel like I have enough time all the time, right? Same thing. And so it really is about too, like with a situation like that, prioritizing your time and communicating that priority to your kids even. Like my kids were little and they understood that when mommy has the sign up where I'm working, they knew that that wasn't to be disturbed, that work was my priority in that moment. One of the things that I used to do with my kids is I would say before the sign would go up, I'd say, Mom is about to start working. I'm working in 5 minutes. I'm setting the timer. You have 5 minutes to ask me anything you want and to get the answer you want to hear. After the timer goes up, my sign goes up. And guess what? The answer is no. I don't care what you ask me. I don't care what you need. The answer is no. So I would do that. I'd put the sign up and then they'd come and ask me a question. Can I have a popsicle? No. Can I have a Band-Aid? Nope. Can I watch a TV show? Nope. Kids don't like the word no. So guess what started happening? They stopped asking, right?
Right.
I set that boundary, but I gave them that warning ahead of time because that was the time to be like, can I watch a TV show? And I'd be like, yes, you can watch a TV show. Yes, you can go outside. Yes, you can have the popsicle. I didn't say yes to everything, mind you, but it was an opportunity to maybe get a yes. After that sign went up, there was no yeses. I didn't care what they asked me. If they came and said, can I clean my room? which never happened, by the way. But if they had said that, I would have said no, because the answer was no. And I had to really draw that line in the sand of this is a boundary. I am working. This is our business. That's how I always positioned it with my kids. This is our business. So you playing quietly on your own is a big part of how we grow this business together. And really showing them how what they choose and what they do is connected to our success as a family, that made a huge difference. And it continued all the way to, like I said, now my kids are 18 and 14, so they totally get it.
I think just communicating with them, that simple thing is what drives it.
Oh, yeah.
I've had women come to me and go, oh, how do you do it? How do you work from home? My husband works from home. You've got the kids. I'm like, well, I tell them I'm working.
Yeah.
Like, they know that I record a podcast in the closet.
Yeah.
And when the door is closed, you can't come in.
It really is that simple.
That's just how it is.
Really is that simple.
I tell them, and they know what I'm doing. It's not like I'm just hiding in the closet.
Well, maybe sometimes.
I wish, yeah. But they'll catch on. They're like, you didn't bring your computer, so.
It's true.
But, just explaining it to them. And I think too often we either think that whatever we're communicating needs to just be on an adult level, and they won't understand,
right.
Or, we don't want to make the time for it. And yet it was funny because when my kids were teeny tiny babies, my husband would be like, why are you talking so much about where we're going and what we're doing? They're like 4 months old. Like, he's not going to understand. I'm like, he does.
Yeah.
He's going to get it because he's going to hear me so often that he's going to know when I say we're going in the car and we're doing this, we're going to go see this. He's going to figure it out. And of course, now I have the 6-year-old who questions everything and he never stops talking. Yes.
Yeah. It's so true.
That is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think
you brought up.
That's a really good point. We get upset when people cross our boundaries, but if we haven't communicated them, that's on us. And our kids are no different than adults. I used to be a teacher. People would always say, like, how did you grow your business? How could you do that with your kids? And I'm like, we would practice. I mean, the kids, when I taught, kindergarten, they didn't know how to line up for a fire drill the first day of school. We would practice it. We would have a practice fire drill. We would line up. They'd put their hands behind their back and one finger over their mouth, and they would line up quietly. The parents were like, wow, what is this magic? I'm like, it's just the magic of practice. So we would practice that at home. Okay, let's practice to pretend like mommy has the sign up. All right, come ask me a question. No. See how this works? They love it. They thought it was fun. It was like role playing. It was like playing pretend, right? But really, the whole time I'm communicating this boundary. And there is nothing selfish at all about communicating your boundaries. A lot of times as mothers, we feel like if we're not saying yes all the time to our kids, or we're not readily available, that we are being selfish. When in fact, when we're doing work that we love, we are modeling for our daughters what is possible for a woman to achieve and to accomplish. And we are modeling for our sons what a woman is possible of accomplishing and achieving. And I think that's really powerful if you recognize that communicating boundaries to your kids lets them communicate boundaries of their own as they grow up, as they become adults, because they've seen it modeled for them. So you're doing a really good favor for your children when you show how you pursue things that you're passionate about, because it shows them that they can do that too.
Yes. Now, I like how you include drawings in your books.
Oh, yes.
I really enjoy that. And I love how you broke down in a graph. It's like, here's a day and it's a square. But then if you break it down, by hours, here's some more squares. And you did this in The Joy of Missing Out too.
Yes.
And then now we're doing 15-minute increments. And I loved, because I think this was the part where you talk about 60 minutes of being on the beach. And I read this while I was on the beach reading your book.
I love it.
And how relaxed you are and just how life is good versus 60 minutes before you're going on stage and you're like freaking out and sweating and you're like, oh my gosh, where'd the time go? But it's the same amount of time, like you were saying. And it's just how we treat it so differently. Time
is truly how we perceive it. It is 60 minutes to 60 minutes is 60 minutes. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. That time is the same. It's all in how we perceive it. We can choose to slow time down by being mindful, by paying attention to what's around us, by really just thinking about the activities we're doing, how we're processing it. So really, when you think about it, you and I and Beyonce, we all have the exact same amount of hours in the day. It's just Beyonce's doing different things than we are. right? Or that person who's writing a book. I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, you've written a book? I would love to write a book. I just don't have the time." And I'll say, "Well, what do you do?" "Well, I'm retired." I'm like, what? What? Because here I am. I've got kids. So that keeps me pretty active. I run a business that's really successful. I've got a social life on top of that, and I can make time to write a book because I've prioritized it, because I've chosen to find that time and create it for myself. And so it is 100% how we choose to perceive time. And if we stop seeing ourselves as time victims and choose to see ourselves as being in charge of how our time is spent, and we do that through those boundaries, like we talked about, by choosing to prioritize the things that really will move the needle the most, that will really make a difference to ourselves. When we do that, that's when we feel like our days are stretching like taffy, like there's so much time and it's so enjoyable, and we can soak in 100% in the moment. For me, with running a business and having a team at the office, I want to be all in when I'm in work mode, but I want to come home and I want to be all in for my family. And I think that is really important to me. So making sure that I have prioritized and compartmentalized, and really both my teams at home and at the office understand that when I'm there with them, they're 100% my focus. I think that makes a huge difference.
It does. And I, for me, it was that I stopped taking calls at certain times of the day with the kids at home.
Yes.
And this was really important with distance learning last year. But now that they're in school, I also only take calls during certain times of the day,
It doesn't
after
have to
drop off.
change, right?
No, I'm all in from drop off until pickup, and then that's it. And they know that they can come home and we'll do homework. We'll have snack time. We'll go swimming. It's all them. They don't have to go, "Oh, well, what were you doing all morning?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember growing up, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I honestly don't know what she did during the day, because every afternoon at 3:00, she'd pick us up and we'd have to go to the grocery store to go get stuff for dinner. And I'm like, "What in the heck were you doing all day? We've been in school since 8 a.m. Why did you not go to the grocery store?"
That's so funny. Yeah.
So I don't want to be that mom.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the thing. It really is about being all in all aspects of your life. I think, none of us want to go halfway with our family. None of us want to go halfway with those relationships. And what we're doing is, if we're spending time with our family, still checking in with what's going on at work, or, doing those things, we're not really giving them the best us possible. And I think that's a really important thing to recognize and realize. But at the same time, it's absolutely okay. And yes, go for it. Be all in at work, whatever work looks like for you. Go all in for that, because it's so important to feel like you're filling your own cup. I say in the joy of missing out, I talk about we can't shine our light on others if our battery needs recharging. And there's nothing more draining to your battery than not doing things that you love or that fire you up. And this is the thing, is when we take care of our own needs, when we take care of the things that are important to us, we have more to give to everybody else. The times when I am snappy, impatient, irritable, angry, right? All those things I don't want to be as a wife and a mother, that's usually because I haven't been taking care of myself. So I know that if I take care of me, I'm happier. Everybody else is happier around me because I'm not biting anyone's head off. And that's a really important thing. That's the mom I want to be.
And you just fully defined what I feel balance is. You're fully present in whatever moment it is. And that's really what balance is about when you're talking work-life balance. And, it's not 50-50. It's being fully present in whatever it is that you're working on.
Yes.
Or who you're with.
Absolutely. That is how we bend time. That's how we allow time to stretch. It's also how we deepen our relationships with those people. It doesn't get deepened if we're on our phone. It doesn't get deepened if we're giving them half of us and the other half of us is still thinking about the things I need to get done for work tomorrow. The way that we do that is truly creating those boundaries for ourselves and really leaning into those. When I talk about this idea of balance, we don't want to be perfectly balanced, because if you're perfectly balanced, that's fine, but you're going on a straight line on a bike. We have to lean into a priority for a season, for a time, to really change and shift the direction our life goes in. So if you want to go left, you got to lean to the left. But you can't stay lean to the left forever. You'll fall over. You'll skin your knees. It won't feel good. So then you have to counterbalance, right? And then you want to go right. You got to lean to the right. So it's this beautiful series of like leaning and counterbalancing and leaning again. And we're never perfectly balanced. It's not about this 50-50 split. That doesn't exist. And it's exhausting to try to maintain.
Yes. And you have me swaying in my chair right now. I'm like, yes, lean to the left and the right.
Yes.
You are such a joy. You're the joy I don't want to miss out on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think the thing is I get really fired up when talking to women about pursuing what they're passionate about, because I am so passionate about what I do and what I create. I love what I put out into the world, and I want more women to feel that for themselves.
Yes. Yes. I think that we get so stuck in, we go to college, we get a corporate job. This is, life. And that was for me. And I had no idea that I really didn't need to work for someone else. I could do something that I absolutely love, that I feel like is changing the world, and make money from it, and still be a wife and a mom and be present in everything that I do and live a life that's really good. And for some reason, we just don't realize that and recognize it. And unfortunately, sometimes it's too late, but we can do that. We have that choice that we get to make.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, is we get stuck in these motions of this is just how life is supposed to be. That one day, like we get in this mode of like, one day when I retire, then I can have fun. Well, for me, it was like, well, I could wait till I retire and then move where I want to move, or I can do that now, which is what I did in 2012. Let's just pack up and move and let's go live in the mountains, which is where I wanted to live. And this is the thing, is we get to choose the life we have. We don't have to wait. We don't have to delay the gratification at all. When we do things that are tied to that bigger picture, that's how we have more enjoyment in our everyday life. I truly believe that there is happiness and joy in the cracks and the crevices of everyday life. If we choose to slow down, if we choose to stop chasing busy and we just revel in it. And that's really what living on purpose is all about. It's seeing that the life you want is possible, and then doing things on a daily basis, little things, tiny things that make a big difference in getting us to that big, beautiful cathedral. In the book, I say, we believe that the opposite of stuck is unstuck. Like there's this magic moment where all of a sudden everything is beautiful and magical and amazing. But that's not true. The opposite of stuck is action. Small action, tiny action, itty bitty steps, little things you can do. And that's what I would encourage the listeners today to do. Little tiny actions. Don't get caught up in what the big giant leaps are. Focus instead on what's the next small step, the next tiny step, the next little thing that I can do that gets me that forward motion towards that life I want. Because that first step, that's the hardest one. So let's make it easy. Because in that second step, that's going to follow. That momentum is starting. Then we get the third step. Fourth step is there. Then we're running and we're off and going. So take action, invest in yourself, whether that means going out today and getting this book because you know that this is going to help give you that action plan to get you going, or whatever it is. Just choose to take action. Choose to see that you have value, that investing in you can make a huge difference.
Preach. Keep going.
I'll get off my pulpit if you'd like.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. The book is amazing. You are incredible. And so many can learn, and as you said, take action. You can live your life on purpose the way you want today, and just start by picking up the book and read for 15 minutes, because we all have it.
Yeah, we do.
Make the time. It's in choosing to make that time and just start today.
Yes. Yes. And this is why with the book, I include, an interactive reader guide, because I want you to read the book, which has got lots of actionable strategies. And I want you to start doing it, start applying it. So the reader's guide is free that goes with it. And it's not like your typical reader's guide. It's almost like a little workbook where you can work through the activities and really start applying a lot of what we talk about in the book. That for me that's my big cathedral, is helping women step into intentional living, helping you step into it confidently and being a leader in your own life. And I want you to feel like you have the action tools to be able to do that.
You are well on your way there. Your cathedral is over halfway done.
I don't know about that, but I'm definitely working towards it on a regular basis.
You're doing an amazing job. Where can everyone find you so they can continue building their cathedral?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is tanyadalton.com. You can find links to both of my books, The Joy of Missing Out and On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success. Both of those you can find there. The book On Purpose is available anywhere books are sold. You can also find links to my podcast at tanyadalton.com. My podcast is The Intentional Advantage. Those are some great ways to connect with me. So I would love to hear from your listeners and hear how they're ready to take action.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on your book launch today.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy getting to spend this day with you. I appreciate it.
Same here. Thank you. Friends, I hope you could tell by the excitement in my voice how very much I loved reading On Purpose and getting to know Tanya. We both firmly believe that you get to choose what your life looks like. You have that power, and it's up to you to exercise it. Go build that business, land that dream job, find the home you've been fantasizing about moving to, eat healthier, go for that walk, start the podcast, write that book. Whatever it is you dream about doing, you need to start today. You can't build your cathedral overnight. It's going to take time and work and effort. But if you neglect to take that first step, then it'll never build itself. If you want more for your life, go after it. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but it's the difference in how we intentionally spend those precious hours that set us apart. Take some time today to think about your priorities and start living them. And until next week, my friends, prioritize, take that first step, and start living your life on purpose.